So for the people who may not know here, look, we've done a copious amount of coverage on this in the Grassroots Gazette, in probably a more suggestive way, in Equitas in a very factual way. We've had people sending us in information from every discipline across all levels. Can we set the scene and let people know what has happened in the last few weeks with HSI, with the affiliates? I mean, you are one of the spokesperson for one of the affiliates. So can you set the scene? And if I can help and support in adding anything, I will.
Okay, well, before I do that, can I just put in context what my background is?
Please do, yeah.
Okay. We started, myself and my wife Gwen started, we got married young. We're 46 years married this next week.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. We're in business. We're in business together 49 years. So we went to school together, we went to college together, and we had our first loan at 17. So I know the cut and trust of being in business, with the exception of a 2-year period. I've never worked for anybody else, and neither has my wife. We've 4 kids, 12 grandkids, seeming as everyone else is getting the kids in. And we've been through every walk of life in terms of business. We have 3 businesses. 2 of them we have stopped trading for family reasons. And we've employed, at our peak, 65 people. And one of the businesses that we stopped was a business of 9 million turnover. So that context would tell you what sort of experience we've had to go through in life. That's the first thing. Second thing is that a lot of my adult life I've given time to voluntary organisations, and particularly Leader. And in that period of time, I've been chairman of 3 separate Leader companies, not a paid position. I've been a board member for 15 years over those periods, and I've been involved in EU auditing, governmental auditing, and internal auditing. I understand how boards work, I understand how companies work, and I understand how funding is obtained from both the EU and national levels. And that is just life experience, and haven't done it over a period of time. So what I'm giving you is my opinion.
Yeah.
I'll give you the opinion of ECOVA, which is the Equestrian Competition Venue Owners Alliance, which is a big mouthful, who incidentally are not an affiliate of HSI, but would be one of the main stakeholders who has a voice and do voice it with HSI and the industry. So the debacle that has unfolded is not HSI itself, it's what HSI has become.
Yeah.
It started with very good intentions. It was set up with a good structure. And ironically, the current chairman, and I want to avoid using names, for the obvious reason, because I do not have deep pockets.
Yeah, I wanted to say that as well, by the way. We're going to be a bit conscious. So before I come in today, and because I'm a relatively newbie to the industry, I have a lot of, and some of the women have spoken up here, trusted confidence, people who give me advice and guidance, and they give me, Sarah and Byrne, advice and guidance. And Tom is down there at the back as well, and he gives me advice and guidance too on how not to get sued. But one of the things that was said to me is that HSI can be very, that's the word I want to lose.
Litigious?
Litigious, that's the word I want to use.
I think that's the phrase that rolls
very
off the tongue.
litigious, and Shane, be careful with your pockets. Even somebody close to me, literally, when I said we were going to do this at the Grassroots Gazette and Equitas, just said, be careful.
Well, I'm not sure many companies who are funded by a departmental section of the government would then sue that department because they didn't win a tender.
Fair.
So, you have to see what the mindset is here. Yeah. This is about bullying your way forward to getting your entity. So what has HSI become? HSI has metamorphosed into a private company. It is no longer a company that's made up of the affiliates. The affiliates have no say whatsoever now. And if you look at the changes that have happened in the Memorandum in Arts that have been recently passed by the board, there is not mention of affiliate anywhere.
Yeah.
And
So
I don't want to go through it all, but there's one phrase I do want to, and forgive me.
They have the sole and exclusive jurisdiction for all equestrian affairs on the island of Ireland, that they have removed the definition of affiliates in the Constitution, that they have removed the definition of how they need to engage affiliates in the Constitution, and they have replaced the definition of forums with advisory councils. Those the 5 things, to be precise?
Yeah, you've got it on the nail. But I at the RDS meeting there a couple of weeks ago, I made a point that the industry is sleepwalking into metamorphic change.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's as though a comment was made to an employee at executive level in HSI about the aggressive nature of the changes in their memorandums, and the reply back was, but we'd never use those. Like, you don't survive this long in business, dealing with people who have stuff written legally that subjugates you to them, and they've basically usurped the industry, taken it over, walking away with it. And you might say, why is that important? It's important because the likes of me and the people I represent in terms of Ecova, which is the main equestrian competition venues in the country that are family owned.
On the island of Ireland,
yeah. And on 32 counties.
Yeah.
And we collectively, privately, out of our own family resources, would have invested somewhere around 50 million in the venues nationally. So are we going to leave that level of exposure to a company with the level of incompetence that has been shown? You've only to look at the passport situation.
Well, the only thing that they've said, the affiliates is mentioned one in the revised constitution, and what they say is an affiliate is an affiliate that is willing to sign an affiliate agreement, and that HSI will then decide if they are going to determine them as affiliates. That is the only line. So basically, if you sign this agreement, we'll decide if you're an affiliate, but only if you sign the affiliate's agreement. So you're already pigeonholed, you're already handcuffed,
Look,
and then we decide whether...
They're not on their own in this.
Yeah.
And I think the Minister for Agriculture has to stand up, put his hands in the air and say, I'm really not interested in getting re-elected. I've no pressure to be re-elected, or I don't want to be re-elected because I don't care. I'm not going to do my job anymore. I'm riding it out here to the end of the election.
Yeah, I'm going to
and I don't care. But can I just make one other point about
Please do.
The number, there's lip service paid to the type of influence that HSI say they have in the industry. What they have done is they've garnered a number of people to be involved with them in the current change. In reality, and I can be corrected on this, in reality, I would say it's less than 12% of the economic value of equestrian sport to the national economy. So they're grabbing a number, saying they're involved with them, and saying they represent so many...
34 affiliates is the number.
There are all the Olympic disciplines who aren't engaging. There are some of the other stakeholders, like ourselves, like the RDS, like the Army Equitation. Yeah. And that's a seismic change for the industry. When people of that calibre...
Can I ask, right? How does it feel when you're going to the RDS for a private meeting at HSI's in Calta, when over 30 affiliates, 70 plus people turn up, and the consensus of that meeting is... And I said it in the article that I wrote on Equitas, it's one of two things. It's either they want the total revamp of leadership and governance in HSI, or they want HSI to be dissolved. And it's one or the other, because and this is based on the press release that came out from that meeting, and it's one or the other. That came out in the Irish Field article, and we published it the Saturday and the Sunday as well. How did you feel being there, when you see 50 million has been invested from what you're representing? How does it...
From the floor when we sat down there were 30 of affiliates in inverted commas and stakeholders, organisations, and up to 3 of each represented. So you had somewhere between 80 and 100 people at the meeting. There was consensus on the outcome. The statement issued was a statement of consensus and agreement. There was no dissension from the statement that was issued. That statement, if you read it, it's really worrying.
Yeah, it is.
And without the influence of an organisation like the RDS, but in my heart of hearts, they're going to be ignored. they're going to, HSI are hoping to bluff their way out of this.
Can I ask you, by the way, and sorry, have you all read that statement or heard that statement? No? Yeah? Hands up, who hasn't? Right. Can I do this? Do you mind?
Yeah, okay.
A meeting at the Irish Sport Horse Industry affiliates and stakeholders took place on Wednesday the 24th of April in the RDS. The meeting, facilitated by the RDS, was called to address widespread, and I won't go into all of it because it's long, but I'll give you the vast majority. The meeting facilitated by the RDS was called to address widespread concern over the recent changes by Horse Sport Ireland to its constitution and memorandums and articles that impact these amendments have had to date and could possibly have in the future. The meeting was attended by over 30 representatives from affiliates and stakeholder bodies within the industry. The meeting considered Horse Sport Ireland amended constitution and agreed that these amendments do not increase stakeholder engagement, improve accountability to the industry, engage stakeholders in strategic planning, increase resources for the industry, rebalance board focus on the industry rather than on Horse Sport Ireland Limited as a company. It was agreed that the significant modifications to the role of affiliates in the new constitution has direct implications on the representation of grassroots of the industry. These changes will affect how grassroots perspective is incorporated into governance and strategic decision-making processes of Horse Sport Ireland and will ultimately impact how it serves the industry. I'm going to go down to the last paragraph here, the second last paragraph. So I'm skipping one. I will happily send this on to anybody afterwards if you haven't got it. The meeting called for an overarching body which provides accountability to the industry, increases stakeholder engagement, uses industry resources efficiently, and engages stakeholders in strategic planning. Consensus was quickly reached in terms of required structure. It should be answerable to the affiliates, called an annual general meeting where its executive and directors report to the affiliates, have a board of directors largely populated by representatives of the affiliate organisations. The role of governing departments who control funding programmes and recognised as a necessary part of the governance structure, and therefore, as you just touched on, was concluded that ministries for agriculture, food, and the marine and tourism, culture, arts, Gaeltacht, sports and media should have one appointment each on the board. And then it goes on to highlight the amount of people who were at the meeting, including the RDS, Show Jumping Ireland, Eventing Ireland, Irish Horse Sport, Northern Ireland Horse Sport, Warm Blood, Stud Book of Ireland, Equestrian Competition Venues and Owners Alliance, the Irish Pony Society, Irish Showing Association, Para-Equestrian Ireland, and Army Equitation. How do you feel when you hear me read that out again? You were there.
Yeah, your blood boils a little bit, but I tell you one thing, HSI have managed to do the one thing that none of us have ever achieved before, such unity.
Yeah.
The industry speaking as one voice and no dissension. Like they've managed to single-handedly get everybody now motivated. You asked me in a previous discussion, why is there not more noise? Why is there not more white noise? Why is there not more activity? And you have to look at it, who's the crusty owl lad that's up here on the chair?
And I'm going to pull you up here, by the way, I'm sorry I want you to come in. We tried to get women up here, just so we're on the same page. I must have reached out, me, Murray and Sarah, perfect. Me, Murray and Sarah must have reached out to 20 or 30 women to get them up here. I could not get a woman to come up on stage with me. That's why Chris is here. This may be the hot topic. Chris was willing to go on the record, and I very, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate that, as does Murray and Sarah, I'm sure. But we couldn't get that done. So, Chris, please.
Okay, can I go back to my original point why you would have found that hard to do? We're all family businesses.
Yeah.
Everyone's reliant on what shows come to your premises. Everyone's reliant on what shows are gifted to you by those who have the gift of giving them out. HSI is one of those.
Yeah.
So people are reluctant to stand up here and say what I've said.
Yeah.
Because it hits them in the pocket. It hits their family and their family business. And if there's a bank repayment to be made on the end of May, well, the show has to go on to pay for it. So you have to bear that in mind.
Very conscious.
I'm not making an accusation about anyone. I'm just saying that people are afraid to speak out beyond a certain point. Why me?
Yeah.
Well, as I said earlier in the introduction, I've had more years' experience at board level, at corporate governance, at EU audits, than I've had hot dinners at this stage. I know what's required, and when I see what's going on in HSI, I am not prepared to sit down and say nothing.
You were touching on the fact that there isn't enough noise. would you like to elaborate on that? Is that, I get it's an Olympic year. I get that some of these representative bodies as well are going to be getting funding, or riders that are going to go and try and go win medals, etc., are going to be put in a precarious position as well if they become vocal on it.
Yeah,
But
look, you've hit the nail on the head. This is not an anonymous industry.
oh no.
This is
And
a
it's
small
well timed
industry.
if you're going to make the changes on January 25th. Very smart move to make the changes in an Olympic year where you're able to.
But look, we're dealing with, as I've said, HSI in its original concept, whatever imperfections it had, it was the right ethos.
Yeah.
We now have a situation where a private company, being primarily funded with public money, is acting outside the control of the government on the basis that, well, the minister will tell you that they're a private company, we can't interfere with their affairs. You then ask for information about their budgets and detail into their balance sheets about various things you have questions on, and you're told that is private commercial information, you're not entitled to it. Information was presented at the Oireachtas hearing. We wrote back to HSI looking for clarification. Nothing came that brought any clarification. And look, I've no political wedge in this. I'm not a political person. I don't belong to any political party, and I'll criticise one the same as the next. I'm just saying, from an ECOVA viewpoint, we would be petrified that that level of incompetence that has been shown in HSI would get any more autonomous control of the industry. All the different players in the industry have their own particular gripes.
100%.
And that's all understandable.
Yeah.
But it's no mistake, and it's no word isn't coming to me, but it's that number of people arrived into the RDS and left with a single voice.
Well, like you said, and you said this to me, we chatted a couple of weeks ago on the phone, never has the industry been so united.
Yeah.
You've never been able to pull everybody together, all vying at times for the same thing or slightly different things, but never a united voice, but there is one now. Do you think, and I had this chat with a couple of people today, and I will finish up then because they're going to be, I said, do you think that change is going to come? Do you, we're 9 months out from an election. Nina was here earlier. She's gone for the one in June for Europe. Do you think the change is going to come? Do you think that the pathway is there, or do you think that the support
I think the pathway is there. I don't think HSI have the willingness to engage to bring about the change.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest fear. There's an arrogance about it, the way they're behaving.
From 9 to 3.
Yeah.
That shows you the arrogance.
Yeah. So they think they're going to weather it out. They think they're going to move on. What may happen, and I don't mind being quoted on it at this stage, what may happen is they may find themselves in competition with another private company that does have the competence, does have the ability, and does have the industry's stakeholder and industry affiliates needs and heart involved in what happens. They may find themselves in that challenge. And if they do, I would be someone that would be love to give them the fight. Because if we stay on the course we're on, our industry is going to end up subjugated to people who, in the main, and I'm not talking about the staff within the building, people who are making decisions in the main do not have the competence or the understanding of the industry.
I love that. Folks, I think we're going to leave it there. Chris, to come on and say this, I really appreciate it. It's been absolutely amazing. Thank you for your time.
But anybody a good lawyer out there, no?
We didn't say any names. We didn't get ourselves into much trouble, I'd say. Chris, an absolute pleasure, my man. Thank you for coming up and joining me.